You're listening to Greater Good Radio Hawaii. Please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. Today's guest is Mike Fitzgerald, President and CEO of Enterprise Honolulu, a nonprofit economic development organization funded by Oahu's private sector. Mike has played an integral part in helping to boost Hawaii's economy and creating jobs for locals. Mike, I was wondering how you got to become an expert in the development of economy.
I wouldn't call myself an expert. I think it changes so fast. What I would say at best is I'm a quick learning student. I started in Montana. I worked for the first governor right out of college for a couple of years. I was only 23 at the time, and I just learned politics and his staff. He was one of the old-time machine politicians left. The new governor that took over after him, this would have been in 72, now 73, was only 36 years old, and he asked me to stay, and he said, start figuring out what we can do to diversify this economy. We export all of our youth. It's been dominated by big outside companies for a long time. There are no opportunities for young people here, very similar to Hawaii. So, and at that time, there were very few economic development organizations anywhere in the United States. The best ones were in Europe or maybe only one or two in Asia at the time. So I had license to go see who knew how to do this at all and where they were doing it. So I went out and just tried to start figuring out what initiatives can be taken at the state and local level to drive a different agenda from inside, or are we just vulnerable and we just have to take what comes? And it was clear that there were some places that were already organizing themselves and having a direct impact on improving their economy by clearly getting a different new vision and driving a definite, well-defined, locally created economic diversification to benefit their local area by community. And there were a handful of these at the time. So we started putting together a strategic economic development plan for Montana, and it was community by community. In many cases, you had to grow your own. You had to create your own thing out of basically whatever you had. At the time, we also were very successful at attracting not domestic big companies like many other states were trying to do, because Montana is the most remote state from the rest of the continental United States and the most remote from big markets. There's not 1 million people there now. We went and formed alliances with international companies that were looking for resource positions outside of here. So we dealt with Japanese trading companies. We did projects in Saudi Arabia, Algeria, and developed international relations that got them in turn to come invest in Montana to start vertically integrating the economy. So that's basically how I learned it. That was in 73, 74, 75. There were hardly any U.S. companies doing anything international then because the U.S. was such a big, wealthy economy, the biggest and wealthiest. But we had this peculiar circumstance that forced us to go abroad and start figuring out how the international economy worked and actually getting companies to come. So that's really how I learned. And then from there, I went to do the state of Washington's long-term economic development strategy. From that, became director of their State Department of Commerce. From there, went to Florida to here. So it's been a zigzag approach. So it wasn't a clear path. And I think now at last there are actually clear paths that people can take that are interested in it. There's lots of colleges that have a specific curriculum in economic development, community development. There are lots of colleges now that are, if they have any environmental inclinations, that are focusing on sustainable development, and that's what we have focused the development on here. And basically sustainable is to focus on this triple bottom line, to simultaneously be working on economic prosperity, environmental protection, and social equity or social justice. And most enlightened places are doing just that. That's definitely our agenda here at Enterprise Honolulu.
Do you have a good example of companies that have a successful triple bottom line?
You know, all of the technology-based companies that we're dealing with, and that would include Hoku, all of the ones I listed, Hawaii Biotech, Cellular Bioengineering, Tissue Genesis, there's a dozen of them here. Yes, because they're very sensitive about the local economy. Most of the people in those companies are from here, so that makes them very concerned about the environment and social equity. Technology companies, by and large, pay their people well. They take very good care of them. They're paid much more than any other kind of company. The people in them are not having to argue about whether they get health benefits, if they can take off for their sons or daughters' ballet dance or baseball game. The companies encourage their people to be involved in the community, to give back to the community. They support a lot of the community do-good programs. They support the arts. They support fund drives. They support healthcare things. They support all of the kind of organizations that are daily raising money here for one thing or another. They are very good corporate citizens, and that event is going to be a very significant dominant third pillar here in Hawaii. So without many exceptions, and I can't think of one when I say it, this technology sector, the companies that are in it, and that includes companies that represent information and communication, software, biotech, healthcare, diversified agriculture, film and digital media, dual-use technologies, which are the military technologies, marine sciences, and ocean sciences, astronomy, space sciences, and alternative energy. Those are the sectors we work on. All of those companies take good care of their people, have a high social conscience for the community, and are major contributors to the community, and are very focused on the environment and not doing damage to the environment.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.